Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Karma Talks. I'm your host, Chris Maliwat, and joining us today are four respectful individuals. First on the list are Mr. Rodom Herona and Miss Angelica Aguilar from the DBM Regional Office 4A or the Calabarzon, and Mr. Alvin Laurian and Miss Maria Reina Uminga from the DBM Central Office. So for today's podcast, we'll be diving into the world of a philanthropy and social impact. Join us as we explore the remarkable work of 6 organizations that are fully changing the lives of our people. So sit back, relax, and let's bring good karma talks. Maybe you are all wondering why Karma Talks is the name of our podcast. If you will notice, Karma stands to the first initial of our names. K for Chris, A for Angelica, R for Rodom, M for Maria, and A for Aldin. But our karma is not in a negative way because just like what I've said earlier, we bring good karma talks. So if we're thinking that this will be straight English discussion, pues nagkakamali kayo. Siyempre gagamit din kami ng Tagalog para mas lalo namin ma-explain yung topic namin, di ba? So to start our podcast, ano nga ba ibig sabihin ng outsourcing and voluntary sector, Angel?
Hi, yes Chris, hi, good evening and good evening din sa ating mga colleagues. So ang outsourcing, this refers to the practice of hiring external organizations or individuals na mag-handle ng mga certain business functions or services na traditionally piniperform in-house. Pwede itong IT services, customer support, or human resource, or yung mga complex or specialized tasks like legal services, marketing, or accounting. Yung voluntary sector naman, on the other hand, these are the organizations na independent from the government sector or the private sector. Tinatawag natin silang third sector na madalas po driven sila by a mission to provide social, environmental, cultural, or educational benefits. So ito yung typically mga organizations like charities, foundations, community groups, mga NGOs, and CSOs.
Pero Angel, paano nga ba ito nagsimula sa ating bansa?
Actually, Chris, ang volunteerism has a deep roots in Filipino culture, traditionally manifested through the bayanihan, a spirit of communal unity and cooperation. Ang early forms of volunteerism were informal and community-based. So, this involved collective efforts ng mga locals to address their needs. While outsourcing industry in the Philippines began in early 1990s with the establishment of call centers and business processing services. Yung evolution naman nito in the Philippines is from bayanihan, nag-shift siya towards new public management. So with this, nagkaroon na tayo ng policy to promote outsourcing and volunteerism. So example nito, Chris, is yung enactment ng RA 9418 or the Volunteer Act of 2007. Another evolution nito is yung introduction ng public-private partnerships. So ito yung collaboration ng government and private sector to deliver public services. Usually, mga big projects to like infrastructure. And third is yung participatory governance. Dito, Chris, na-empower yung mga citizen in policy making. And yung lastly, yung digital transformation. Both outsourcing and volunteerism are increasingly leveraging digital technologies to enhance their efficiency at saka yung coverages nila.
Oo nga, Angel, parang Kala namin yung ano, 'di ba, yung outsourcing tsaka volunteerism parang ngayon-ngayon lang siya naimbento pero from ano pa lang 'di ba, simple bayanihan nag-start na pala siya no. Tas ang dami ng shift na nangyari. Yun nga kagaya ng binanggit mo, new public management, mas naging public-private partnership, tas may participatory governments and lastly ito na yung which is yung na-experience na natin 'di ba, yung digital transformation. Pero Angel, paano ba natin ano makakarakterize yung isang voluntary sector? Masasabi ba natin na kapag tumutulong ba or nagbibigay ng financial or non-financial man na gift sa mga tao ay mako-consider na ba nating voluntary sector ito?
Sir Chris, may I answer that, no? Uh, yung voluntary sector typically operates without the primary goal of making a profit. They are focused on specific causes or social issues. They rely on donations, grants, and the fundraising activities. And yung staffing and operations nila ay heavily nakadepende sa mga volunteers.
Yes, and to add that doon, Sir Chris, voluntary sector plays a crucial role in filling gaps in public services. Sila yung mga organizations na nagwo-work with the marginalized community in providing services na hindi na inaabot ng government natin. So, and at the same time, they act as watchdogs, mga advocates for policy changes, and sila madalas yung nag-hold ng government na maging accountable sila.
So malaki nga yung ano, epekto sa atin ng mga voluntary sector. Pero nabanggit kanina ni Sir Rodom na sabi is ang primary goal is without making a profit. So napaisip lang ako, anong epekto nito sa ekonomiya ng ating bansa? Kasi 'di ba normally yung kung build tayo ng organization, 'di ba, ang talagang goal natin is to earn a profit, 'di ba, para may bumalik man lang sa atin. Pero ito, mga voluntary sector natin is they are not earning a profit, 'di ba? So, may epekto ba 'to sa ekonomiya ng ating bansa?
Yes, Chris. Ang voluntary sector ay may malaking epekto at kontribusyon din sa ating ekonomiya. Una diyan, nakakapaglikha ito ng trabaho, no? Na kahit na ang mga organisasyon sa voluntary sector ay non-profit, kadalasan kailangan nila ng mga bayad na empleyado para sa kanilang mga operasyon. At ito ay nagreresulta sa paglikha ng trabaho para sa ating mga kababayan. And pangalawa, nagbibigay ito ng mga iba't ibang serbisyo. So, ang mga serbisyong ibinibigay nila ay nagreresulta sa mga benepisyo sa komunidad na hindi palaging nasasakupan o naaabot ng ating gobyerno o pribadong sektor. Halimbawa, ang mga organisasyon ng tumutulong sa mga mahihirap o may mga sakit ay nag-aambag sa pagpapabuti ng kalidad ng buhay. At ang isa pa diyan ay nag-aambag din ito sa ating pondo, no? Ang mga donasyon mula sa mga individual at kumpanya, pati na rin ang mga grant at iba pang pinansyal na tulong ay nagdadala ng mga pondo sa mga organisasyon na tumutulong sa mga pangangailangan ng lipunan. Ang mga pondong ito ay maaaring gamitin para sa paglikha ng mga proyekto, pagbuo ng infrastruktura at pagbibigay ng mga serbisyo. At isa pa, no, nagbibigay din ito ng social capital. So, ang pagbuo ng social capital sa pamamagitan ng mga voluntaryong gawain ay nagpapalakas ng ugnayan sa pagitan ng mga tao at nagtataguyod ng pagkakaisa sa komunidad na maaaring magdala ng positibong epekto sa pangkalahatang kalagayan ng ekonomiya.
So, ibig sabihin pala talaga, Rodom, no, na hindi talaga profit yung habol ng mga voluntary sector. Bagkus meron pang deeper effect or 'di ba, deeper na meaning, 'di ba, ang pagtulong talaga nila. So marami talaga silang natutulungan dahil dito. Tsaka kung titignan natin, 'di ba, kumpara nung dati, 'di ba, mas maraming volunteer sector na ngayon sa Pilipinas. So sa tingin nyo, bakit maraming organization yung pumapasok dito? May nakukuha ba silang pabalik dito sa pagtulong nila? Kasi 'di ba, volunteers specifically meaning pagtulong at pagbibigay ng biyaya ito sa mga tao. So, ano nung effect naman nito sa kanila? Kaya anong ano bang nakukuha nila pabalik sa organisasyon nila?
For me, Chris, yung financial aspect. Ang mga organizations kasi are always looking to cut costs. So, ang outsourcing can offer potential savings para sa company. So, kung mag-outsource sila, this will lower labor costs and significantly reduce yung expenses nila instead na mag-hire pa sila.
And another reason why it is becoming popular is it's about specialization. Private and voluntary organizations often have expertise in specific areas that office or agencies might lack. Outsourcing provides access to a wide talent pool with specialized skills that might not be readily available in-house. Diba?
Agree ako dun, Rain and Angel. Siguro to add lang, we can consider na ang outsourcing frees up organizations' resources to focus on core functions. By outsourcing routine or non-core tasks, companies can concentrate their resources and efforts on their core competencies and strategic initiatives.
Pero sa tingin nyo, mga ma'am and sir, ano naman yung nagiging challenge or problema ng mga voluntary sector natin sa pag-abot ng vision and mission nila? Kasi syempre, di ba, hindi natin maiiwasan. Kahit madami na yung mga voluntary sector, meron talaga mga organization na mas pinipiling di na lang ituloy yung mission or humihinto na lang bigla sa pagtulong. Parang naalala nyo ba yung time ng pandemic? Di ba may nag-push nung parang community pantry na tinatawag natin. So sikat na sikat siya nung pandemic, di ba, sa atin, lalo na sa mga local natin, local government local organization natin, di ba? Pero nung na-lift na yung pandemic, nahinto na rin siya, di ba? So parang biglang, di ba, parang 2 years lang siya nangyari. So ano kaya sa tingin nyo yung naging malaking factor bakit nangyayari yung sa mga ilang voluntary sector organization itong mga ganito?
Yes, Chris. Some argue na ang outsourcing and voluntarism can lead to a decline in service quality and lack of accountability. Yung iba naman nagwo-worry na magkakaroon ng potential inequity and equality with a certain groups benefiting more than the other. Pero to ensure na hindi ito mangyari, we need an ongoing evaluation and adaptive policy making. So it is essential to find a balance between the cost efficiency and service quality while we also address the needs of the vulnerable people.
Oo nga, Angel Sa bagay, nakakapanghinayang talaga para dun sa mga voluntary sector natin na hindi na natutuloy yung mga mission and vision nila para sa mga tao, kababayan natin, no? But syempre, that's the reality, di ba? That's the reality of life. Pero syempre, we are so blessed and thankful na dito sa mga voluntary sector na to, yung mga natulungan nila at para dun sa mga organization na patuloy pa rin tumutulong hanggang ngayon, sa ating mga kababayan, we are praying for their continuity in their service at naway marami pa silang matulungan sa mga susunod na araw, di ba? So sige, we'll just break for a while kasi na-discuss na natin ano ba yung outsourcing tsaka voluntary sector. And sa pagbabalik natin, pag-uusapan naman natin yung mga organization na kilala na natin dito sa Pilipinas na matagal na tumutulong din sa ating bansa para sa ikaunlad ng lahat. So, stay tuned at babalik kami ang Karma Talks.
Why be a volunteer? Because volunteers make a difference and can change lives. Plus, you meet new people, learn new skills, take on a challenge, have fun, and most importantly, make a difference. Who are volunteers? They come from all backgrounds. Volunteers are working people, students, professionals, young people, and retirees. What can you do as a volunteer? There is something for everyone, and there are many ways you can help others. From volunteering in sport, emergency services, teaching, food and hospitality, helping people with disabilities, and giving animals a second chance to feel loved. What's certain is that you are sure to find something that's right for you. You'll feel rewarded and you'll be valued. Volunteers make a real difference in their communities and to the lives of the people around them. And we want you to know. So can you.
So ayun, muli tayong nagbabalik sa Karma Talks. So gaya nga ng sabi ko kanina, pag-uusapan naman natin yung mga kilala ng organization or voluntary sector sa Pilipinas. Unahin na natin syempre yung malapit sa akin kasi just a brief background lang sa akin. Bago kasi ako nag-start sa DBM, ang work ko talaga sa private. So isa akong bankero. Hindi yung nagsasagwan kundi yung nasa bangko, syempre, yung nasa bangko. So, ayun, as a teller or as So, kaya malapit sa akin ng mga banks kasi ito yung first job ko. So, ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon, yung sinasabi ko is si RCBC at si Metrobank Foundation. Pero, sige, unahin muna natin si Metrobank Foundation. So, nandito ulit yung mga kasama natin na colleagues, si Miss Angel, si Sir Redom, si Sir Alvin and Miss Rain para i-discuss ulit itong ano nga ba itong Metrobank Foundation tsaka RCBC Foundation. So, sige Sir Redom, ano ba yung Metrobank Foundation?
Yes, Chris, no? As what I have known and in my research, ang Metrobank Foundation Incorporated ay corporate social responsibility arm of the Metrobank Group. So alam naman natin na ang Metrobank ay isa sa pinakamalaking bangko sa ating bansa. In fact, based on the internet, sila ay number 2 as to total assets. Now let's talk about the Metrobank Foundation. So this foundation implements various programs on education, visual arts, health, and in the recognition of excellence among key professions. It also maintains a dynamic partnership with other organizations that likewise provide services for the underprivileged and marginalized sectors of society, and also remains responsive to aid survivors of natural calamities sa ating bansa and in other parts of Asia. That is through relief and rehabilitation efforts. So the Metrobank Foundation, ito ay in-establish ni George Tino in January 1979. So this is 16 years after he founded the Metropolitan Bank and Trust Company, or the Metrobank. And currently, its chairman is the retired Chief Justice Artemio V. Panganiban. At isa sa mga advisor ng foundation na ito ay si Senator Juan Edgardo Sani Angara as a senior advisor of this foundation.
Rodom, given Metrobank's substantial size and financial resources, ano po yung rationale nila behind its philanthropic endeavors and why they continue to invest in programs and initiatives that benefit the community and various organizations?
Angel, just to simplify their mission and vision, this foundation aims to be the country's premier corporate philanthropic foundation to contribute a significant impact on social development. And they want to uplift individuals and the sectors na nire-represent nila. And also they aim to create and propagate a culture of excellence and provide solutions to their stakeholders' needs.
So si Metrobank Foundation has a wide range of programs, no? Can you highlight some of the most impactful ones? Yung pinaka-flagship programs nila, Sir Rodom?
Yes, Rain. One of its well-known program is the Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos. It is the most prestigious career service award for Filipino exemplars in the academe, military, and police sectors. And in this program, nagbibigay sila ng award na worth 1 million pesos cash prize, and a trophy and also a gold medallion. And it is a career service award, no? Meaning tinitignan nila dito yung entire professional career of the person. Lahat ng accomplishments nila and services rendered, whether big or small. And it is done while in the line of duty and even beyond, from the moment they started working up to the present time. Actually, this coming September 2024, the Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos will recognize 10 Filipino exemplars para sa 4 na guro, 3 sundalo at 3 kapulisan natin. And another prominent program of the foundation is the Metrobank Art and Design Excellence or MADE. Ito naman ay isang visual arts and design program ng Metrobank Foundation which has been recognizing talent and hard work of young Filipino arts or artists and has been continuously promoting the Philippine art culture since 1984. To date, the arts intervention programs of Metrobank Foundation has given recognition to almost 500 young artists and has supported close to 300 other art activities like exhibits of competition winners, art workshops, art festivals, facilities improvement of museums and schools. And also they have this Metrobank MTAP DepEd Math Challenge. So popular din po ito sa mga schools natin. So this contest is an annual mathematics competition aimed at raising the competitiveness of elementary and high school students. Ito ay in partnership with the Mathematics Teachers Association of the Philippines and the Department of Education. So, sinasabi na it is the longest running math competition in the country with more than 500,000 students participating in nationwide elimination rounds yearly yan. And it attracts students from both private and public schools, no? At sinasabi din na ito ang the only math competition in Asia spearheaded by a bank. And also, meron din silang programa for disaster response. So, they remain responsive lagi to aid survivors of natural calamities in the Philippines and also in Asia, in parts of Asia, that is through relief and the rehabilitation efforts. Further, the Metrobank Foundation is also the principal owner of Manila Doctors Hospital, located there in the United Nations Avenue. So itong hospital na to ay nagbibigay ng tulong din sa mga marginalized member ng society natin, no? They conducted several medical missions continuously yan. And for additional information lang, kung alam nyo yung GT Capital Holdings, so through its foundation, which is the GT Foundation Incorporated, ay ito din ay pinagmamay-ari ni George T. or ng mga T. Nag-sponsor sila ng mga corporate social responsibility activities ng Manila Doctors Hospital tulad ng inpatient services para sa mga hospital bill at in-house surgical program para sa mga indigents.
Nice. I think they really comply and even go beyond the social responsibility standard, no? With those programs, marami silang natutulungan. The foundation's commitment to education, arts, healthcare, and community development is talagang inspiring naman talaga and impactful, no? By recognizing outstanding individuals and providing opportunities for young people, Metrobank Foundation is building a stronger and more vibrant nation. It is evident, no, na that the foundation's work is making a tangible difference in the lives of countless Filipinos.
Yes, Alvin, we can say na they really give back to society with those programs. At meron pa, nagbibigay din sila ng scholarship through its Metrobank Scholarship Program na ang layunin ay makapagbigay ng quality education para sa lahat. Their grants on education prioritize the provision of physical access to students and teachers, equipping the classrooms and capacity building para sa mga guro. And this foundation also recognizes the importance of assisting vulnerable sectors, particularly mga persons with disabilities and mga indigenous people. Talagang nakakatulong ang mga programa ng Metrobank Foundation sa mga Pilipino.
Oo nga no, Rodom. Grabe yung grabe si Metrobank, full package na, 'di ba? Sabi nga ni Sir Vin kanina, 'di ba? Parang hindi lang sa education, meron ding arts, healthcare, community development, tapos ngayon, scholarship pa, 'di ba? So, grabe, hindi lang basta bangko si Metrobank, kundi talagang total package siya para as maging voluntary sector natin sa Pilipinas. Pero yun, speaking of scholarship, 'di ba? Pag-usapan naman natin ngayon, 'di ba? Sabi ko nga kanina, dalawa yung pag-uusapan natin bangko. Ngayon, pag-usapan naman natin si RCBC Environmental Scholarship Tie-Up. So, ano nga ba ito?
Actually, I never heard of this NGO, Chris eh. So ang familiar lang sa akin is yung bank. At in fairness, no, yung RCBC, isa din sila sa known and largest bank ngayon sa Pilipinas. So based on what I have explored, nung 2022, nakipag-partner sila with the Department of Environmental and Natural Resources para sa scholarship program na to. So kilala naman ang RCBC sa kanilang corporate social responsibility, tapos malaki rin yung focus nila sa environment. Kaya parang natural lang na mag-partner sila with the DENR para mas malawak ang impact ng kanilang initiatives. Siguro nakita nila na kailangan ng maraming environmental experts. Kaya naisip nilang mag-offer ng scholarships. So basically, nag-start sila ng partnership para itaguyod ang environmental awareness sa pamamagitan ng education.
Ayos yan, Alvin, no? Pero ngayon, sino yung mga key officer na involved sa program na ito?
Actually, Chris, medyo limited ang disclosed information sa web. And wala pa tayong specific names. Pero alam naman nating ang leadership ng RCBC ay dedicated sa sustainability. Their commitment to environmental, social, and governance principles are evident in their operations.
Sa bagay, Alvin, kasi mayroon tayong Data Privacy Act. So siguro yun yung main reason bakit siguro hindi naka-disclose sa web yung mga pangalan ng key officers nila. So for the privacy na rin siguro. So pero how about naman yung mission and vision nitong RCBC Environmental Scholarship Tie-Up? Ano yung mission and vision nila?
Simple lang, ang mission nila ay to promote sustainable living by supporting students na nag-aaral ng environmental studies. And ini-envision nila na makalikha ng mga future environmental advocates for our planet.
Oh, very inspiring yan, Alvin. So it's all about creating a sustainable future, di ba? So ngayon, sige, let's talk about naman yung volunteer works naman ni RCBC. Ano-ano yung mga activities na ginagawa nila dito?
Marami ding initiative, Chris. Nag-organize sila ng environmental cleanup drives at tree planting activities. At ang mga scholars din ay tinuturuan ng skills na kailangan nila para sa environmental projects nila. Plus, they also encourage scholars to participate in community outreach programs to raise awareness din.
Very good yan kasi 'di ba parang hindi lang by book or sa education sa classroom, 'di ba? Gusto din nila na mamulat yung mga scholars kung ano ba yung nangyayari 'di ba sa environment natin. Pero kumusta naman yung mga green programs and initiatives ni RCBC? Ano yung mga naging accomplishments na nila?
Alam nyo ba na since 2019, nakapag-issue na sila ng over 1.4 billion US dollars in green and sustainable funds. At nakapag-fund din sila ng over 8,000 projects worth 71 billion pesos as part of their sustainable finance portfolio. They've also received sustainable awards, which is a huge acknowledgement for their efforts.
Impressive nga yan, Arvin. Talagang commendable yung kanilang commitment, no? Pero paano ba natin makikita yung epekto ng scholarship na ito sa mga future environmental advocates natin?
I think this scholarship can inspire students to take action and pursue careers in environmental science. It's about planting seeds for a greener future and This scholarship plays a big role. With financial assistance, mas madali para sa mga students na makapag-focus sa kanilang studies.
Actually, agree ako sa iyo, Vin, ha? And to add lang, I believe this action is a vital initiative that supports education while promoting environmental awareness, di ba? It only shows that sustainability starts with education and community involvement, emphasizing how the private sector can contribute to the environmental protection. Di ba? This is so amazing.
Definitely, Ma'am Rain. Definitely. I agree with all of you. So talagang dapat we should all support initiatives like this for a better and sustainable future, 'di ba? So, ayun, thank you Sir Rodom, Ma'am Angel, Sir Alvin, tsaka Ma'am Rin, na-discuss natin kung ano ba talaga yung ano ba yung ginagawa ni Metrobank tsaka RCBC Foundation natin as a voluntary sector, 'di ba, sa bansa natin. And ayun, na-discuss natin pa sa mga viewers natin na talagang beyond banking sila, hindi lang sa banking, but kilala sila sa voluntary sector natin dito sa Pilipinas.
Yes.
So that's it for these two local NGOs natin, and again, we will have a short break and we'll be right back and di-discuss naman natin dalawa pa ulit na bigatin din na local NGOs natin. I'm sure kilala nyo ito. So sit back ulit and magbe-break lang ang Karma Talks. As promised, muli nagbabalik ang Karma Talks. So, ayun, ipagpapatuloy natin ulit yung usapan natin about sa voluntary sector. So, sabi ko nga kanina, 'di ba, i-discuss natin. Kilala nyo na ito sa Pilipinas kasi napapanood nyo ito palagi mula bata kayo. So, ngayon may isang napaka-inspiring na discussion tayo tungkol sa isa sa mga haligi ng social responsibility sa Pilipinas. At ito yung tinutukoy ko na, ABS-CBN Foundation. So, kasama ko ang aking mga amazing groupmates na sina Alvin, Reyna, Poy, at Angel, di ba? Sama-sama nating pag-uusapan ang mission, vision, historical accomplishments, core values, at ang mga makabuluhang gawaing pinapakita ng foundation na ito. So, tara, let's get started.
For sure, alam nating lahat, ang ABS-CBN Foundation has always been about serving the Filipino people.
Tama ka dyan, Sir Alvin. Ang mission nila ay magsilbi sa Pilipino sa pamamagitan ng iba't ibang programa na nagpapalakas sa komunidad. Nagpo-promote ng edukasyon, nagpo-protekta sa kalikasan at sinisigurado ang kalusugan at kapakanan ng bawat Pilipino. And as for their vision, isang bansa kung saan ang bawat Pilipino ay may access sa mga opportunities that will improve their quality of life.
Nakaka-inspire nga ito, Rain, di ba? Pero paano nga ba naging ganito kalaki yung impact ng ABS-CBN Foundation sa Pilipinas?
Actually, Sir Chris, it all began in 1989 when ABS-CBN Foundation was formally established. Since then, they've been at the forefront of numerous advocacy programs. One of their most notable accomplishments is the Bantay Bata 163 program, launched in 1997. Naalala niyo pa ba yun? Yung segment sa Channel 2? Di ba dati? Napapanood niyo ba yun? Ito ang naging kauna-unahang media-based hotline sa Pilipinas dedicated to reporting child abuse cases.
May nakakatawa akong story dyan eh. Nung bata ako, every time na pinapalo ako ng nanay ko, na naiisip ko na isumbong ko si mama ko sa Bantay Bata 163. Like, feeling ko parang super abuse ako, parang ganun. Kayo ba ganun din ba pag pinapalo kayo?
Kaya nga, very remarkable talaga ang Bantay Bata 163 and sa pagkakaalam ko, madami talaga silang batang na-save at saka na-rehabilitate. Pero yung work ng ABS-CBN Foundations goes beyond doon, di ba?
Oo naman, Angel. Other than rescuing children from abuse, nag-release din ng ABS-CBN Foundation ng curriculum-based show called Sineskwela noong 1994. Do you remember that, guys?
Oo.
Mukhang hindi ko
Oo,
siya
tell me.
nabutan.
25 ka pala.
Yung naalala ko pa yung kanta nun eh. Yung umpisahan ko
Ano ba
Kakantahin ko
yan?
para sa inyo. Bawat bata may tanong, ba't ganito? Ba't ganon? Hayang buksan ang isipan sa science o agham. Tayo na siniskwela, tuklasin natin ang siyensya. Buksan ang pag-iisip, tayo'y likas na scientist. Congrats, kids!
Galing.
Anyway, diba? Nostalgic. At meron pa, yung Hiraya Manawari na nagtuturo ng values education. Yung Bayani, if you could remember that. Na nagtuturo regarding naman sa heroes of the Philippines noong 1995. At ang matilik noong 1997 na tumulong sa atin na mas madaling maintindihan ang matematika sa pamamagitan ng visual learning. Aminin nyo, madami tayong tutunan sa mga palabas na ito nung kabataan natin. These programs initiated by ABS-CBN Foundation were even endorsed by DEX, now called DepEd, as part of regular class activities sa public schools. Pinalabas din ulit ang mga ito during the pandemic, di ba?
Nabuhay dugo ko sa concert natin, Reyna. But aside from services for child development, ano pa ang mga naitutulong ng ABS-CBN Foundation sa pangkalahatan?
Well, another notable program is Sagip Ka Pamilya, na nagbibigay ng disaster relief at emergency humanitarian assistance. For instance, during Typhoon Yolanda in 2013, ang Sagip Ka Pamilya ang isa sa mga first responders, yung pag-deliver ng food, medical supplies, and rebuilding efforts to the devastated areas. Actually, comprehensive din ang approach ng Sagip Ka Pamilya Hindi nagsisimula at nagtatapos ang mission nila sa pagbibigay ng tulong tuwing may kalamidad. Nagkakandak din sila ng disaster preparedness trainings. That's pre-calamity action, di ba? Immediate relief assistance, the aftermath of the calamity, at kung kinakailangan, tulad ng nangyari sa Yolanda, rehabilitation programs. That's post-calamity action, guys.
Alam ko malaki rin ang papel nila sa environmental conservation sa pamamagitan ng Bantay Kalikasan, di ba?
Yes, Alvin, Bantay Kalikasan focuses on environmental protection and education. In 1999, nakibahagi sila sa reforestation ng Lamesa Watershed, turning it into the only major forested area in Metro Manila, providing clean drinking water to millions of residents. For 25 years, ang foundation ay nakapagtanim ng mahigit 1.3 million puno sa Lamesa at na-restore ang 88.75% ng watershed.
Napakaganda naman ng mga initiatives ng ABS-CBN Foundations. Pero paano ba nila ito nasusustain ang mga ganito kalalaking projects?
Alam mo, Angel, magandang tanong yan. Kasi 'di ba nakabuo sila ng malalakas na partnership sa iba't ibang stakeholders. Kabilang na dito yung gobyerno din, 'di ba? Private sector, internal organizations. Yung ability nila to mobilize resources and people effectively is, alam ko, key yun to their sustainability. And this is all driven by their core values, 'di ba? Which guide in everything they do.
Right, Sir Chris. One of their core values is compassion. No one gets left behind. We will be there when people needs us. This is evident in their programs like Sagip Ka Pamilya, kung saan tinitiyak nila na makakarating ang tulong sa mga nangangailangan. And they also uphold integrity. We serve our beneficiaries and partners with unwavering respect and honesty. This value is crucial in building trust and maintaining the foundation's credibility. And let's not forget excellence. They conduct themselves to the highest standards of excellence and expect the same from our partners. Makikita ito sa kalidad ng kanilang mga programa mula sa educational content hanggang sa disaster response. Moreover, they're also committed to accountability. They are committed to transparency to ensure the actions help the less privileged. Siguradong bawat effort ng ginagawa nila ay tunay na makikinabang ang mga komunidad na kanilang pinagsisilbihan. And their service orientation. They don't turn away from those in need and they serve with joy for our pamilya. This value is at the heart of their work, whether it's in education, environment, or disaster relief. And finally, empowerment. They support the kapamilya by creating opportunities for sustainable transformation. Itong value na ito ang nagtutulak sa mga programa tulad ng Gusto Kong Mag-aral, kung saan hindi lang sila nagbibigay ng mga scholarship, kundi pinapalakas din ang kabataan para makapagbigay sila ng kontribusyon sa kanilang komunidad.
It's also worth mentioning, how they engage with the community. The foundation isn't just about giving, it's about empowering Filipinos to be part of the change.
Speaking of engagement, paano kaya nag-adapt ang foundation sa mga pagbabago ng panahon, lalo na sa pag-usbong ng digital platforms?
That's actually interesting, Alvin. I've noticed they've been leveraging social media to reach more people and spread awareness about their initiatives. During the pandemic, ginamit nila ang digital platforms para magpatuloy at na magbigay ng educational content and health information tulad ng kanilang Kapamilya Online Live.
Exactly, Rain. 100% agree ako dyan. Kasi 'di ba, ini-embrace ng foundation yung digital age, lalo na ngayon, 'di ba? Going digitalization na talaga si Pilipinas, 'di ba? Lalo na sa mga kabataan ngayon na mahihilig na sa gadgets tsaka sa social media, 'di ba? Yung TikTok, yan, yung mga Twitter, 'di ba? Facebook na ini-ensure ng foundation na that they remain relevant and accessible. Tapos yung dedication nila to service shines kung paano nila inadapt ang kanilang mga programa upang tugunan ng pangangailangan ng mga Pilipino, lalo na sa panahon ng krisis.
Yes, malinaw na ang ABS-CBN Foundation is committed to its mission of service. Their work in education, disaster relief, child welfare, and environmental protection truly embodies their vision of uplifting every Filipinos.
Tama ka dyan, Angel. Ang legacy ng ABS-CBN Foundation ay isa talagang patunay na the power of collective effort and the enduring spirit of the bayanihan. Tulad ng nakita natin, malaki ang naging epekto nila sa lipunang Pilipino at patuloy pa itong lumalawak.
Ang pinaka-impressive para sa akin ay kung paano sila nanatiling tapat sa kanilang misyon. Patuloy na nag-evolve para mas mapaglingkuran ng mas mabuti ang mga Pilipino, no matter the challenges. The story is a powerful reminder that with dedication and compassion, we can make a significant difference in our communities.
Sobrang agree ako dyan, Rodom. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat at sa sobrang napaka-insightful na talakayan. So, alam natin na ABS-CBN Foundation talaga, yung dedication sa service is a powerful example para sa ating lahat. At sana ang yung naging usapan natin ngayon ay magbigay inspirasyon din sa iba na sa kontribusyon sa kapakanan ng ating mga kapwa Pilipino.
Well, here's to continuing the supporting causes that uplift our nation.
Yes, together we can build a better future for all Filipinos.
Ayun, nag-agree ako sa inyong lahat, Ma'am Rain, Angel, Sir Rodom, and Sir Alvin. I mean, talagang napakalaking blessing sa atin ng ABS-CBN Foundation na sa pagtulong sa Pilipinas at sa mga kababayan natin talaga nangangailangan. At ang isang didiscuss natin na kasunod nito ay dikit din sa ABS-CBN. Ito yung, alam ko, most of us siguro narinig na natin to si Gawad Kalinga. So, isang remarkable local and national governmental organization din to, si Gawad Kalinga. So, for those who are not familiar naman, si Gawad Kalinga, it is a movement aimed at eradicating poverty for millions of Filipino families through community development programs. So, di ba? Parang ano din siya, parang ABS-CBN Foundation. So, discuss din natin siya kasi malapit siya kay ABS-CBN kung ano ba yung initiative, impact, and how it stands as a beacon in the voluntary sector. So, to help us give yung definition or yung mission ni Gawad Kalinga, Ma'am Rain, ano ba yun si Gawad Kalinga?
Well, Sir Chris, Gawad Kalinga, nang ibig sabihin is to give care sa Filipino is a movement dedicated to eradicating poverty by building empowered communities. This is founded in 2003. Ang mission nito ay wakasan ang kahirapan para sa 5 milyong kapamilya pagsapit ng 2024. Through holistic approach that includes building homes, providing education, fostering livelihood opportunities, and nurturing values formation. The idea is not just to provide temporary aid, but to create sustainable communities kung saan ang mga tao ay maaaring umunlad.
That's truly inspiring rin, no? Pero ano kaya, what sets Gawad Kalinga apart from other NGOs in the Philippines?
So Sir Chris, one of the key aspects of Gawad Kalinga ay ang kanilang community-centric na approach. Hindi lang kami nagtatayo ng mga bahay, nagtatayo ng mga komunidad, kasama mismo ang mga residente sa pagtatayo ng kanilang mga tahanan at sa pagpaplano ng kanilang komunidad. This fosters a sense of ownership and pride. Moreover, Gawad Kalinga focuses heavily on values formation, ensuring that the spirit of bayanihan or communal unity and cooperation is at the heart of every community we develop.
Actually, that's a unique and powerful approach rin, no? How about you, Sir Rodom? Baka you can share to us kung ano bang naging epekto sa iyo ni Gawad Kalinga, or maybe sa life mo personally baka natulungan ka na rin ng Gawad Kalinga, di ba? Or kaya sa community nyo.
Chris, before Gawad Kalinga, most communities in different parts of our country struggled with inadequate housing and limited opportunities. When Gawad Kalinga came in, they didn't just build homes. They helped create a future. Now they have decent housing, a community school, and the livelihood programs that have provided jobs and skills training. Personally, I've benefited from the values formation programs, which have instilled a sense of hope and determination in me. It's not just about the physical changes, but the emotional and psychological upliftment as well.
That's wonderful to hear, Rodom. Ikaw kaya, Sir Vin, can you tell us more about the role of the volunteers in the Gawad Kalinga and how the voluntary sector contributes to its success?
Actually, volunteers are the lifeblood of Gawad Kalinga. From local community members to international supporters, volunteers play a crucial role in all our initiatives. We help with construction, education, health programs, and more. The voluntary sector's involvement is vital kasi it brings in diverse skills, resources, and perspectives that enhance programs. Tapos, it fosters a culture of giving and solidarity, which is essential for the sustainability of their mission.
So malaking tulong talaga yung mga volunteers, no, sa Gawad Kalinga. But Alvin, paano kaya ma-i-involve yung mga tao sa Gawad Kalinga if they are interested in supporting or maging volunteer dito sa Gawad Kalinga?
Marami. There are many ways to get involved. You can volunteer your time and skills, donate various programs, or even sponsor a community. They have opportunities for both short-term and long-term involvement. Pwede kang mag-visit din sa website nila, Gawad Kalinga, for more information on how to get started.
That's good to hear, no, Alvin? That's good to hear. Pero yun, medyo naging mahaba na yung discussion natin about dito sa ABS-CBN tsaka Gawad Kalinga. Pero but before we wrap up, Ma'am Angel, baka do you have final thoughts or messages for our listeners about dito?
Siguro Chris, ang masasabi ko lang, maraming buhay ang nabago dahil sa Gawad Kalinga. Ito ay patunay na pag nagsama-sama tayo for a common cause, marami talaga tayong maa-achieve. And kaya ini-encourage ko ang lahat na to get involved in whatever way we can. Kasi yung kahit maliit na contribution na yon, it will make a big difference.
I agree, Ma'am Angel. Siguro lahat din ng or kundi man lahat, most of our listeners agree din dito sa sinabi mo. And that's it para dito kay ABS-CBN and Gawad Kalinga. So again, we will just take a short break kasi medyo naging mahaba yung discussion natin. And sa pagbabalik natin, last part na tayo ng ating program talaga. So stay tuned lang kasi last part na to para, di ba, maging sulit ang yung pakikinig sa aming podcast. So sit back ulit and stay tuned for Karma Talks.
You can pass on the hope. Ipasa ang pag-asa.
Welcome again to Karma Talks. So, eto, sabi ko nga kanina nung bago tayo nag-break nung last discussion natin. Ito na yung magiging last part natin. So, we will be talking about another two remarkable and inspiring voluntary sector. So, let's first discuss si Red Cross, di ba? So, explore natin ano ba yung role ni Philippine Red Cross sa lives ng countless Filipinos. So, here and me again, si Ma'am Angel, si Sir Rodom, Sir Alvin, and Ma'am Rain. So, please bear with us kasi saglit na lang naman na to. So, Ma'am Angel, can you provide a brief overview of the International Red Cross and the Philippine Red Cross as well?
Chris, ang Red Cross movement was born out of the horror of the war. So, it was founded in 1863 in Geneva, Switzerland, following the vision ni Henry Dunant, a Swiss businessman who witnessed an aftermath of a war. So, from there, he advocated a neutral organization to provide care doon sa mga wounded soldiers. So, yun yung nag-led to the creation of International Committee of Red Cross or the ICRC and eventually yung adoption ng Geneva Convention. Then dito naman, Chris, sa Philippines, the Philippine Red Cross was established in 1947, shortly after the World War II. So it operates as a member of the International Red Cross and the Red Crescent movement as one of the National Red Cross Society. So Though may mga, according to history, as early as 1899, may mga initiative na through Apolinario Mabini during the Malolos Republic, together nung sa approval ng ating constitution. And based on the record, si Mrs. Hilaria del Rosario de Aguinaldo was yung appointed president. Pero it was only in 1947 that President Manuel Rojas na nag-sign siya ng Treaty of Geneva, and doon din lang na-sign yung Philippine Red Cross Charter or DRA 95.
Oh, so medyo matagal na rin pala no nung nagsimula ito. So ano ba yung pinaka-mission talaga and mission and vision ng Philippine Red Cross?
Yes, Chris. Ang pinaka-mission talaga ni Red Cross is to provide humanitarian services in the Philippines, focusing on disaster response, relief and recovery, as well as health services and community resilience. It aims to offer support to individuals and community na in need. And ang vision niya is Philippine Red Cross na maging leading humanitarian organization sila in the Philippines, known for its excellence in disaster management, health services, and yung mga community-based programs nila. So they envision a safer and more resilient Philippines kung saan ang mga tao are empowered to handle emergencies and where humanitarian needs are met effectively and impartially.
Yet, true enough, no, Ma'am Rain, na yung Red Cross has made a significant impact sa buhay ng mga Pilipino. Pero para maging aware lang din yung mga viewers natin, 'di ba? Ano ba yung baka pwede kang maka-highlight kung ano ba yung mga organization most notable achievements ni Red Cross?
Ang Red Cross kasi, Chris, very active sila in comes to disaster. Actually, lagi silang nasa forefront ng disaster response. So, providing essential aid and support sa mga affected communities during major disasters such as typhoon, volcanic eruptions, earthquake, at kung ano-ano pang natural calamities. So, kasama na dito yung mobilizing ng mga volunteers nila, distribution ng relief goods, and providing medical care and temporary shelter.
Well, actually, I remember Red Cross talaga yung very visible during the Typhoon Haiyan, di ba? Yung Yolanda, noong 2013. And the Taal volcano eruption in 2020. And of course, COVID-19 pandemic. Di sila nawala. Di ba?
Yes, alam nyo ba, kwento ng lolo ko nung 1991, during nung sumabog yung Mount Pinatubo, Red Cross yung nanguna sa coordination with local authorities and the military to evacuate thousands of residents from the danger zones. So kasama dito yung evacuation of 8 communities living on the slope of Mount Pinatubo.
Actually, totoo yan, Sir Alvin. To add on that, kasi alam naman natin si Philippines very very prone talaga sa disaster. So, nagko-conduct din sila ng community resilience programs. So, they implement disaster preparedness and risk reduction programs to enhance yung community resilience ng mga Pilipino, no. So, this includes also the training of local communities in emergency response and yung develop na rin yung disaster response plans natin.
Yes, Chris. And another pa doon na notable effort ni Red Cross is yung mga health services nila. So, nagkakandak sila ng mga health programs including blood donation drives, vaccination campaigns, and yung mga first aid training. So, the Philippine Red Cross runs the largest blood collection network in the Philippines and numerous blood banks across the country.
At meron din silang emergency medical services. They operate a fleet of ambulance and medical teams to provide emergency medical services across the country. The PRC's emergency response unit are essential in providing immediate care during the crisis.
And involved din ng Red Cross sa mga advocacy and awareness program, especially sa ating mga kabataan. So they promoted humanitarian values and principles, including na nga po yung disaster preparedness, community health education, and ang Red Cross is very involved in advocacy campaign na para ma-raise yung awareness sa mga humanitarian issues and i-engage yung public sa mission nila.
Angel, while the Red Cross does this incredible work kasi, di ba, talagang dami nilang natulong mula nung una pa. Pero alam natin na it also face challenges. So, sa tingin mo, ano kaya yung mga biggest obstacles ni Philippine Red Cross sa Pilipinas?
Funding is always part of the challenge ng Red Cross. So, ang disaster naman is very unpredictable. So, and the needed resources can surge rapidly. So, additionally, sa pag-maintain din ng volunteer engagement and ensuring din ng safety ng mga personnel nila is very challenging and an ongoing concern para sa Philippine Red Cross. The Red Cross will need to become more agile and responsive to emerging challenges like climate change and the pandemic. So, strengthening partnership, investing in technology, and focusing on long-term recovery is crucial para ma-achieve ni Red Cross ang kanilang mission.
Sa tingin mo, Angel, paano kaya nila ma-address tong mga challenges na sinabi mo?
Yun nga, Chris. So, Red Cross continually works to address these challenges through, first is strengthening partnership. Yung continuous collaboration nila sa government, sa NGOs, and other stakeholders na nag-enhance ng coordination nila and resource sharing. And another po is yung improvement ng system. So, investing in a better logistic, data management, and financial system increases the efficiency and transparency. And another, yung enhancing their training. So, providing an ongoing training and support sa mga volunteer nila and the staff will ensure na prepared sila in case nga sa mga challenges na haharapin nila. And lastly, yung advocacy and awareness. So, engaging in advocacy to raise awareness about humanitarian needs and secure the necessary resources. Despite these challenges, the Red Cross remains a vital player in global humanitarian efforts. So, leveraging its extensive network and expertise to address the needs of vulnerable populations worldwide.
So we can all say that, diba, talaga na Philippine Red Cross is a testament to the power of the human compassion. So yung unwavering commitment nila to help others is truly inspiring talaga. So ngayon, tapos na yung discussion natin sa Philippine Red Cross. Ito na yung last part natin. Konting push na lang. Si VACC na, or yung tinatawag nating Volunteers Against the Crime and Corruption. Sir Vin, baka tulungan mo ako, ano ba yung alam mo about the Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption o yung tinatawag nating VACC?
Di ba ito yung grupo na laging nasa balita kapag may nangyaring malaking krimen or corruption?
Exactly. So ngayon, pag-usapan naman natin tong VACC. So let's start with the basics. Parang naunang natin, mga discussion. Ano ba yung alam mo, Sir Vin, kung kailan ba nagsimula tong VACC?
Sa akin naman, based sa mga nabasa ko, ang VACC ay nag-start nung August 3, 1988. So, medyo matagal na rin silang nag-exist. Mas matanda pa sa akin kasi 25 pa lang ako eh. Kung hindi ako nagkakamali, isa sa mga founder ng VACC ay si Dante Jimenez. Kilala siya bilang isang matapang na anti-crime advocate. So may nabasa rin ako na siya yung isa sa mga nag-push talaga para ma-establish ang VACC. Pero hindi lang naman siya, marami pa silang kasama na mga biktima rin ng krimen. So nakita nila na kung gaano ka-fail yung sistema natin. Tapos sobrang dami pang corruption. Kaya ayun, nag-decide sila ng gumawa ng isang grupo para tulungan yung mga biktima at i-expose yung mga may kasalanan.
Pero Sir Vin, tama ba? Ang president ata nila ngayon is si Arsenio Boy Evangelista.
Yes,
Tama?
yes. Tama.
Tama. So, ang VACC talaga ay binuo sa mga taong direktang naapektuhan ng krimen at korupsyon, no? Kaya naman pala napaka-passionate nila sa kanilang ginagawa. Pero ano ba talagang mission nila? Bakit nga ba sila na-organize o nabuo?
So ang mission ng BECC, simple lang, i-eradicate yung mga krimen at korupsyon. So gusto nilang tulungan yung mga biktima at i-improve yung sistema natin sa pag-handle ng mga kaso.
Wow! Ang ambitious nila ha. Malaking challenge. Pero ang galing nila ha. Parang ang hirap gawin nun, no?
Agree. Pero hindi naman sila nag-give up. Gusto nila na maging malinis ang Pilipinas. Yun bang walang masyadong krimen at korupsyon. So pangarap lang. Pero yun yung nagmo-motivate sa kanila. Malaking pangarap pero hindi imposible.
Napakaganda naman ng mission ng itong VACC na to, no? Parang gusto ko tuloy maging volunteer sa kanila. Pero paano ba maging volunteer sa VACC? Ano ba yung mga ginagawa nila?
Why not, Chris? Try mo. Mostly, volunteers yung mga nagtatrabaho sa VACC. So, ayun. Ayun sa na-research ko, maraming ways para maging volunteer. Pwede kang tumulong sa legal aid, counseling, or court monitoring. Pwede ka rin maging part ng kanilang communication team or mag-organize ng mga fundraising events.
Grabe, ang dami nilang ginagawa, no? Parang kung tawagin natin, lagari sila. So, pero sigurado akong hindi madali itong mga trabaho nila. So, ano kaya sa tingin mo yung naging challenge or na kinakaharap nila ngayon?
Siguro isa sa pinaka malaking challenge nila ay yung paglaban ng mga taong nasa likod ng krimen at korupsyon. Malalakas ang mga kalaban nila eh. Kumbaga yung culture of impunity natin. Mahirap talagang labanan yung corruption kapag yung mga nasa taas mismo ang may kasalanan. Kulang din sila sa budget. Mahirap mag-run ng NGO. Kailangan ng pera. Tapos syempre, may mga threats din sila kasi nga inaaway nila yung mga corrupt. Pero despite ng mga challenges na to, nakakagawa naman sila ng mga accomplishments. Maraming kaso na na-resolve dahil sa tulong nila.
Oo nga, Sir Alvin. Ini-imagine ko yung mga banta na nare-receive nila. Yung nakakatakot.
Kaya nga, scary talaga yun. Pero hindi sila nagpapa-apekto. Patuloy silang lumalaban para sa bayan natin. At dahil sa kanila, mas nagiging aware ang mga tao sa mga isyong kriminalidad at korupsyon.
Talagang nakaka-inspire tong vision and mission ni VACC. So sana mas marami pang suporta sa kanila. Kailangan natin kasi tong mga taong handang lumaban para sa tama. Ayun. Tapos na tayo. Ito na yung last part kasi natin, di ba? So na-discuss natin itong 6 na mabibigat na local non-governmental organization na talagang tumutulong din, no, kasama ng ating gobyerno na tumutulong sa mga kababayan nating Pilipino. So, ito na yung pagtatapos ng Karma Talks sa episode na ito na outsourcing and voluntary sector. Ako ulit ang inyong host, Chris Maliwat. Kasama ko ulit si Sir Rodom and Ma'am Angel ng DBM RO4A and syempre si Sir Alvin and Ma'am Rain ng DBM Central Office. So hanggang sa susunod na Karma Talks. Thank you!